Whispers of the Enchanted Grove. In the shadow of ancient mountains, where jagged peaks pierced the heavens and mist clung to the valleys like a shroud, lay the village of Whisperwind. This remote settlement was a place where time seemed to linger, its cobblestone streets worn smooth by generations, its wooden homes leaning slightly under the weight of years. Legends wove through the air like threads of forgotten dreams, tales of heroes and spirits passed down by flickering hearths. Yet, beneath this rustic charm, a pall of despair hung heavy. The villagers lived in fear of the Enchanted Grove, a dense, untamed forest that bordered their land, its canopy so thick it swallowed sunlight. They whispered that it harbored the spirits of the lost, souls who had wandered too far and never returned, and shadows that murmured secrets of the past. For decades, crops had failed, their golden stalks withering to brittle husks, and the once clear stream that fed the village had turned murky, its waters sluggish with silt. No one dared enter the grove. For those who ventured in, emerged changed, their eyes hollow, their voices trembling with tales of unseen horrors, or did not return at all. Lira, a curious orphan with a spirit as wild as the winds that swept through Whisperwind, had grown up on the edge of this fear. Raised by the village elder, a stooped figure named Famine, whose silver beard framed a face etched with wisdom, she had no memory of her parents, lost to a fever when she was an infant. Famine had taken her in, teaching her the old songs and the lore of the land. But Lyra's heart yearned for more than the safety of the village. Her eyes, the color of storm clouds brewing over the mountains, held a spark of defiance that set her apart. From the time she could walk, she had been drawn to the grove, its dark silhouette a constant presence on the horizon. "The grove isn't evil," she would insist, her voice steady despite Thalian's warnings. "It's just misunderstood." The elder, his hands trembling from age, would shake his head, recounting the dangers, illusions that preyed on the mind's deepest fears, paths that twisted like living things, and a heart of darkness that consumed the weak-willed. Yet Lyra's fascination only grew, fueled by a longing to uncover the truth behind the legends. One fateful autumn, when the famine tightened its grip on Whisperwind, Lira could no longer stand by. The harvest had yielded nothing but dust, and the villagers' stores dwindled to scraps. Children's laughter faded, replaced by the hollow coughs of hunger, and the once vibrant market square stood silent, its stalls empty. Thalian, his voice hoarse from pleading with the skies for rain, called a meeting under the gnarled oak at the village center. "We must endure," he said, but his eyes betrayed his doubt. Lira, sitting among the gathered, felt a fire ignite within her. She had heard whispers of a guardian spirit within the grove, a force that might hold the key to their salvation. That night, under a sky heavy with clouds, she made her decision. Armed with only a lantern, its flame a fragile beacon, and her unyielding spirit, she slipped past the village's edge, her footsteps muffled by the damp earth. The Enchanted Grove loomed before her. Its entrance, a tunnel of twisted branches that seemed to reach out like skeletal hands. The air grew thick with mist, carrying the scent of moss and decay, and the whispers began, soft at first, like the rustle of leaves, then insistent, echoing her deepest doubts. "You are alone, worthless. Turn back." Lira tightened her grip on the lantern, its warm glow pushing back the shadows, and pressed forward. The trees stood like silent guardians, their bark etched with faint, unreadable runes, their branches bending into eerie shapes that shifted with the wind. As she ventured deeper, the forest came alive. Shadows morphed into spectral figures, her lost parents, their faces pale and pleading, their voices calling her to join them in eternal rest. Thorny vines lashed out, coiling around her ankles and drawing thin lines of blood, while the ground beneath her feet seemed to ripple, swallowing her steps. Terror gripped her heart, her breath coming in shallow gasps. But in the midst of panic, she clung to Thalian's tales. The grove's true guardian, he had said, tested the soul's resilience. This was no curse. It was a trial. Hours blurred into an endless night as Lira navigated the grove's shifting paths, her lantern flickering with each gust of wind. The whispers grew louder, weaving a tapestry of her fears. Abandonment, failure, the weight of her village's hope resting on her shoulders. Yet amid the chaos, a memory surfaced. Thalion singing an old lullaby, its melody a balm for her childhood tears. Drawing on that strength, she pressed on, her defiance hardening into resolve. Deeper in, the forest opened into a clearing bathed in ethereal light, a stark contrast to the oppressive darkness. At its center stood the Heartwood Tree, a colossal figure with bark like ancient stone, its surface etched with glowing runes that pulsed like a heartbeat. The whispers intensified, no longer threats but a flood of stories. Pain and loss from centuries past, wars that scarred the land, betrayals that shattered families, heartbreaks that lingered like ghosts. The grove, she realized, was no cursed place. It was a repository of forgotten emotions, guarding the land's vitality but overwhelmed by accumulated sorrow. With trembling hands, Lira approached the tree, her lantern casting long shadows across the clearing. She placed her palm against its rough bark, feeling a surge of warmth. "I hear you," she whispered, her voice steady despite the tears streaking her face. "Let me share your burden." Visions flooded her mind, flashes of clashing swords, villages burning, lovers parting in silence. But amid the darkness, glimmers of hope emerged. A child offering bread to a stranger, a mother's embrace enduring war, a warrior laying down his sword for peace. Drawing on her own strength, Lira began to sing the lullaby her parents had taught her, its notes rising like a prayer, a melody. The Heartwood Tree responded. Its runes flared brilliantly, releasing a wave of energy that swept through the clearing. Shadows dissipated like smoke, thorny vines retreated into the earth, and a gentle rain began to fall, its droplets glistening on the leaves. The air cleared, carrying the scent of fresh growth, and the grove seemed to sigh in relief. Lira stood in awe, the glowing leaf she had plucked from the tree's lowest branch clutched in her hand, a symbol of restored balance. Exhausted but triumphant, she turned back, the rain following her steps as if guided by her resolve. When Lira emerged at dawn, the first light painting the mountains in gold, the villagers gasped. She stood at the grove's edge, the glowing leaf held aloft, her clothes torn, but her eyes shining with a new light. Rain fell steadily now, nourishing the cracked fields, and the murky stream began to clear, its waters sparkling in the sunrise. The villagers rushed to her, their fear giving way to wonder. Thalion, tears in his eyes, embraced her, whispering, "You've brought us back." The Enchanted Grove, once a place of terror, transformed into a site of pilgrimage, its paths now welcoming those seeking inner peace, its whispers now tales of inspiration. Lyra's journey reshaped Whisperwind. The village flourished once more, its fields heavy with grain, its children laughing by the reborn stream. She became a beacon of hope, teaching the young ones the lullaby and the lesson she had learned. True horror lies not in the unknown, but in unspoken fears. By confronting the darkness with empathy and courage, she had unlocked transformation, proving that even the most haunted places could bloom with hope. The glowing leaf, preserved in Thalion's care, became a relic, a reminder of her triumph. As seasons turned, travelers arrived, drawn by the story of Lira and the Heartwood Tree. They spoke of a grove where shadows turned to light, where resilience turned terror into triumph. Lira, now a storyteller in her own right, sat by the village fire, her storm-gray eyes reflecting the flames. She wove her tale with care, each word a thread in the fabric of Whisperwind's renewal. And so, the whispers of the grove became a legacy, carried on the wind to distant lands, inspiring others to face their own darkness with the same unyielding spirit that had saved her village. The years passed, and Lira grew old, her hair streaked with silver, but her spirit remained unbroken. She often visited the grove, now a place of quiet beauty, its trees swaying gently as if in gratitude. One autumn evening, as the leaves turned gold and the mountains glowed with the setting sun, she sat beneath the Heartwood Tree, its runes still faintly aglow. She sang her lullaby one last time, her voice carrying over the village, and as she closed her eyes, the grove seemed to hum in harmony, The villagers gathered below felt a warmth spread through them, knowing that Lyra's courage had not only saved Whisperwind, but had planted seeds of hope that would endure for generations. And so, the legend of Lira and the Enchanted Grove lived on, a tale of a girl who turned fear into light, a story whispered in every corner of the land, reminding all that within the heart of darkness lies the power to bloom anew.